Welcome. In this presentation, I'm going to go over how Mathshare is being used to support math learning at home. I'm Matt Nupin, Program Manager for Mathshare, part of Benetech. And before coming to Benetech, I worked as a high school science and math teacher at alternative schools. And a lot of my students would either have an IEP or they had the same needs as students with IEPs, meaning that they just needed extra supports, whether it was because of a learning disability or a cognitive physical disability, or just simply that they were behind and they had gaps in their knowledge. They just needed some extra supports. Now, when it came to math, that was extra difficult because, as many of you know, math is commonly one of the most difficult subjects for students. So it's no wonder that up to 35% of them struggle with math. And that's because it's an extremely visual subject. Being able to see all of the individual parts within a math equation, understanding the importance of them. Being able to write out those same types of equations with very small exponents and being able to have everything lined up in a very structured format. The way that you say and the way that you hear math is extremely important and very unlike other things that we might be saying in day-to-day lives. And all of those things combined builds up a very difficult cognitive load and processing for the students. The working memory, their ability to stay focused, and being able to organize all of their work together into very specific things to solve and work through the problems can be very overwhelming for a lot of students. So that's why we made Mathshare, to help make math more accessible. So I want to share this one story from a teacher here in Minnesota that I really love. So she was working with a 5th grade boy who has cerebral palsy, and because of that, he had difficulty holding a pencil and writing small enough and fast enough to actually get through the math problems. He understood what to do, he couldn't show it, and saying it would go slow as well. When he got Mathshare, it completely changed his world. He didn't have to rely on staff members to do the writing for him, and he could now go into a general ed classroom and keep pace with his peers in math because he was using Mathshare instead of having to work through this on paper with a pencil. And this has an extra special connection with myself, because I have a 3rd grader who has cerebral palsy, who is nonverbal, and has the same issue with being able to write. She can think it, but being able to actually write it out on paper, that's what's going to slow her down. But with math tools like Mathshare, she can then keep pace. So in this presentation, I'm going to go over what is Mathshare, how to get started with it. Then I'll walk you through the process of creating a problem set, and then completing one of those problems, and finally sharing the finished work back to other students or teachers or parents. So what is Mathshare? Mathshare is an inclusive tool that helps students share and organize their thinking. It doesn't teach them. It doesn't tell them what they did wrong. It allows students to actually work through that problem-solving process in a very structured, purpose-built way. So whether you are using it in the classroom and working one-on-one with students, or if you want students are working independently at home or at school, but then also Mathshare is becoming integrated into other tools and platforms to help support the learning that's already happening within those platforms. And what makes Mathshare unique is this ability of breaking things down into very discrete steps. So you can see right here we have in this image of step 1 and step 2. So you can see what is happening and what's changing in each step. And to the right of each equation is a dedicated place to explain your thinking. Why is the student doing this? This is also a really good place for students to be able to then pre-plan, what do I want to do? How am I going to now go to the next step? What needs to be done? To enter in that math, students have a dedicated place to be able to write out their math. So we have the various math buttons that have been broken out into different math palettes based on the need. And they've been given specific colors to help reduce the cognitive load so students can remember, all right, what I need is green, and that will help them identify it. And it also has a built-in sketch pad so they can draw out some of these ideas as they're thinking through it. To get started, go to mathshare.benetech.org. We have Google and Microsoft sign in. Sign in is optional, but it's fantastic because it will save all of your work to the dashboard. Along with the sign-ins, it has full integration with Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams. And Mathshare is free for educators, parents, and students. So I'm on the Mathshare homepage right now, mathshare.benetech.org, and I'm going to select Sign In at the top. I'm going to sign in with Google. Again, you can continue without signing in, but we highly recommend you do. Once signed in, then you're going to be taken to the dashboard. And the dashboard is kind of where all of your work lives, and everything is organized around problem sets. So the first thing we're going to do is create a new problem set. And a set is a collection of problems. It's basically like a virtual worksheet. The first thing you can do as an educator or the person creating the set is you can then select which tools you want to appear. I'm going to leave all of them, but if some students really struggle with that cognitive overload, you can reduce the amount of information that's on the page this way. Now we're on a problem set. I can rename it. So I'm going to say today's work up at the top, and I'm now going to select add a new problem. Here's where you can then now start typing in what the problems are going to be. Let's say if we had a paper worksheet, we want to convert that, we'll just start typing these in. So I can say 3x plus 10 is equal to 5. And over on the right hand side, now I'm going to put in my prompt. So I'm going to say solve for x. And I'm going to add this problem. And we can add in multiple problems here as well. So I can say 26 plus x is equal to 13. And I'm going to say also of solve for x. As a teacher, you can also put in images and sketches there. But I'm going to add this problem and we'll say that we're done for this one. So now we have two problems. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this with my students. So I can then share it through Google Classroom or Teams directly or with this link. Now students can do this exact same thing. So students on their own can go to Mathshare and sign up and begin creating their own problem sets and solving them and sharing them that way. But for this one, I'm going to now just simply copy this link to my problem set in a new tab. I'll open that link. And this is what students will see. So let's select the first problem of solve for x. And you can see now, up at the top, we have the prompt of solve for x in the problem, and that's automatically listed as step 1. So we're now working on step 2. For this one, I'm going to use the built-in speech-to-text tool to then first plan out what I want to do. Well, I know that I need to get x by itself, and I should do all of the addition and subtraction first. So I'm going to subtract 10 from the left side, and then try and move it to the right side. So I'll subtract 10 from both sides. Now it's a lot easier to say what you're thinking than it is to type it out. And so by having this built-in speech to text, it's fantastic for students. And now we can go in and actually do minus 10 from the left side and minus 10 from the right side. Now I'm going to show you some of my favorite tools here. One of my favorite ones is this crossout. Now I know that plus 10 minus 10 is just going to equal out to 0. So I'm going to cross this out. And over here, we have 5 minus 10. So I could either do cross out and replace and say negative 5, or I can use the calculate feature, which Mathshare then knows that you're just simply trying to subtract those two numbers and then give you the answer and cross that out. I'm now going to add the step. And this is one of the beautiful things about Mathshare, because again, trying to keep all of this work organized and very neat and clear, Mathshare knows what you're doing with that cross out and now gives you this cleanup step. So now we have just this, and for this part, I now know that I'm going to use the keyboard here. I'm going to say divide by 3, and you can also use these different keys that we have down here. So I'm going to use this fraction one and say divide by 3. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 3 to get x by itself on the left side. And I'm going to, so then we can also go through. Now this, before I add in the step, I know that these 3's will cancel out, and I'll just have x. So I'm going to do cross out and replace as just x. And on the right, I'll leave that as a fraction. So I'll add the step, and there we go. It's fantastic. So I'm finished with this, so I'm going to select finish. My work will be saved, and then I'm taken back to my problem set. And as I work through all of these different problems, when the student's done, they can then turn them back in through Classroom or Teams or with a link. Now, let's say if you have a paper worksheet like this. We just kind of went through that step by step. Trying to do something like that on paper is going to be nearly impossible. With Mathshare, you can quickly just simply look at these equations and put them into Mathshare and create a new one. So why is this great for remote learning? A lot of the different things that we'd be doing for students one-on-one, we can now do with Mathshare. So being able to allow students to say why they're doing these things is they can now do with Mathshare. And with the Google and Microsoft integration and this quick ability to simply look at a paper worksheet and turn that into a problem set, it works great for remote learning. And if a teacher isn't using Mathshare already, then students can also use Mathshare on their own. So thank you very much. Go to mathshare.benetech.org to sign up and start using it. If you're interested in helping us test and give feedback on upcoming accessibility-focused features, please let us know by filling out this form. You can reach us at mathshare@benetech.org and follow us on Twitter. Also, check out our list of accessibility features, our YouTube channel, Help Center, and if you're giving presentations, check out the Professional Development Pack. Thank you, and we're excited to hear about how you use Mathshare.